on Simo and Goss for breakfast. Coach's Call.
Thanks to Hungry Jack's. Don't forget, if you're looking for breakfast, the all-new Eggs Benny is still available at Hungry Jack's. Before we get into the round that was, let's go to Jay of Mandurah. Wants to talk about the West Coast Eagles. Jay, good morning.
Good morning, Goss. Good morning, Simo. So I noticed something early on the Saturday game with the West Coast Eagles. I'm not sure if it's not your fault, Simo. I know you probably didn't teach it, but little things make up big things. Ruben Jr. was awarded a 50-metre penalty early in the second quarter, and he didn't have any sense of urgency to move it up the ground. He did a light pace jog to the 50-metre mark. Yet yesterday, Voss and Pitnet had a similar thing late in the fourth quarter, and Pitnet ran to the 50-metre mark. Little things like that can add up to big things in a game.
Yeah, you're right. They're the moments in games. And then there's the games on the line for Carlton, so they go a bit quicker. Sometimes I think when you're a young side, and there's no defence to the play, but it's take your time, get a deep entry, and let's defend behind this entry as best we can, rather than let's go quick and make the ground big. And at what cost you want us to score. So, yeah, it's a good point. They're all the type of little things that you train above the fundamentals. The fundamentals are the number one thing I see that we were trying to work really hard on. There's still some work to do in that space.
Good on you, Jay. Thank you, Jay from Mandurah, giving us a call. All righty, let's get our teeth into the round and let's go all the way back to an 88-point drubbing of the Giants by the Western Bulldogs.
I'm doing Thursday nights on SEN, and it's just stinker after stinker after stinker. Just been jinxed.
You can sense this was coming with the outs for GWS, could you not?
Not really, no. It's such a big game for both teams, but they'd won 6 in a row, the Giants, and you're on reflection maybe, but to lose the contested possessions by 51, Goss, the world record's 62, and it wasn't West Coast. Minus 17 clearances, the Giants. So Bontempelli, his second quarter was just outstanding at 14 odd possessions and 9 of them contested and kicked a goal, all those type of things. And Darcy and Norton have kicked 10 goals between them. So going to do it. Hopefully no one's done it yet this week. Just a bit of research on the craft of being a key forward. And Darcy's got a different way of doing it. It's a point up, not a point out. And I want to look at Tracy as well and Voss, because they've got, Jamie Graham's coaching that forward line, and I haven't seen a better craft pairing for a long time. Both of them have just got outstanding craft. So I'm going to look into that a bit deeper. But, it's all in front of them. The Doggies still aren't in the 8, but they did what they had to do on the weekend.
And they don't get GWS. They don't get Kelly, and they don't get Buckley back for the rest of the year. They get Green back. Yeah. How does a captain feel sitting in a corporate box watching his team get dishevelled like that?
Terrible. I mean, we wouldn't take our captain over to the game. We'd say, you just stay in Sydney, mate, and get ready for next week. But he would have been feeling guilty. So look out for an outstanding performance from him this week, I suppose. It's getting pretty tight, though, isn't it? They don't want to be dropping another one.
Well, West Coast didn't take... I don't know whether they took Oscar Allen over to Melbourne on the weekend, but I saw him eating donuts in the front seat of his car with Lorna, his fiancée. World's biggest donuts. They were looking for pancakes. They ended up getting donuts.
There you go.
So anyway, speaking of donuts, he's going to give the Eagles donuts from now on as well. He's heading to Brisbane. Hey, 14-point win, Crows. I like this game.
Yeah.
They were challenged. Scoring was all at one end. In the end, it was a 14-point win to the Crows on the back of Phil Thorpe, who continues. Isaac Rankin got busy. Curtin's a star of the future. What did you make of it?
We spoke about momentum last week, during the week, with some of the things you do as a coach, and they could not stop it. Both teams couldn't stop it. Like, it was a run of 8 shots, run of 5 shots the other way, run of 4 shots the other way. So
exactly what you said. This is what Sam Mitchell talks about in momentum.
It's very rare that one team has the momentum for a whole game. Now, I think both teams did a decent job of, when they had momentum, putting scoreboard pressure on. But they were a little bit cleaner and a little bit more clinical when it really mattered, and they just were able. I think we had some momentum at a couple of different times, but we weren't able to put the score on the board, which put them away. So a bit disappointing there.
Yeah, look, it was a good game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And look, the Crows are plus 22 contested possessions post clearance. So on the outside, they won that battle. Adelaide have kicked 7 goals from the back half, so Hawthorn made them play a little bit differently. The 4 tolls is interesting, Goss. Trying that late in the year is a difficult challenge for Sam. You want to get settled going into finals when every game is really important. So both our ladder predictors has them missing the 8. So how do you judge playing 4 tolls? That's a good question, isn't it? It's not just wins or losses. So in the first half, they went at 33% scoring efficiency inside their forward 50. in the second half, they went at 56% when they only had 3 tools. They subbed out Kalshadir. So that's a sort of analytical point of view on judging the efficiency of your forward line.
So they sub out Kalshadir. Warple comes...
He looked rusty.
Yeah. So Warple comes into the game, but they play without Day. Would they have kept the 4 tools? Well, they would have clearly had to have kept the 4 tools if it was
and Day's... it looked like cramp, didn't it? And then it turned into... Wow. I said, if you're wearing a moon boot at the airport, you're in strife. And unfortunately, he did. So, it was a great game, though. It was, if they miss the 8, it's, they're a good side, Hawthorn.
They are a good side. Let's turn our attention to, of course, Melbourne. They beat the West Coast Eagles by 83 points. We played this early doors. For those who have just tuned in, thanks to Hungry Jack's, the coach's call. I want to play this in regards to momentum again. And there's some pretty damning comments from Andrew McWalter.
Clearly at the moment, the gap between our best and our worst is far too great. And we can't handle it when teams have momentum against us and the scoreboard just flows. We're not tough enough at all as a football club, as a football team at the moment. So that's got nothing to do with age. That's something that we just can't accept.
Yep, he's got every right to say that. They're minus 42 contested possessions against a side that probably feeds off that when they're at their best. They were really good for 3 quarters, Melbourne, last week until the Saints had their way with them. So, got them at the wrong time. And there's a lot of work to do. I mean, the inside 50s wasn't as a big a blowout as I thought it would be. It was plus 13 to Melbourne. So their efficiency in their front half, they only lost the clearances by 10, which doesn't sound like a lot, but I've seen it worse. And then the front half game for Melbourne, they've kicked 8 goals, 4 from the front half, which means their forward pressure was pretty spot on as well. So unfortunately, West Coast couldn't get it out of their D50, whether it was unforced or forced turnovers. So it looked pretty easy in the end.
Is it easy to say now that all West Coast have to do for the next 3 weeks is have some little wins? Is that what you're trying to do?
I think that's what I was chasing last year.
Yeah.
Just the small rocks. And the big rocks will come. So the small rocks is, can we be good at pressure? Can we be good at the contest? Can we win the clearances? And then can we win a quarter? That was where I was starting things last year. I don't know what they're doing this year. There's different game style. More about ball movement, more about transition, and all
lots
that
of players you haven't coached too.
Yeah. So this is a different team now.
Yeah.
We've all moved on, haven't we?
So
it's been over a year.
Are you worried? Oh, very much so. Have you worried about what could happen though if Adelaide get on an absolute tear here? It's going to be pretty hard to watch if you're a loyal Eagles fan.
It's first versus last, guys. Yep. So I mean, say it happens again, this result, and McWalter can say what he wants to say, but that's where it's probably going to go. It's unfortunately, I've been a part of a lot of games where I don't think we can win today, but let's be really competitive and show some spirit for our fans.
Well, speaking of spirit, Richmond's spirit was demoralised. They were demoralised by the Gold Coast Suns. They do a goalless in the first half. They only kicked 2 for the match. Here's Adam Muse.
There's a split personality in the change rooms right now. We've got young guys that have had an opportunity to, or some exposure at playing different positions tonight, but older players that know that that's not good enough and embarrassed by the scoreboard, and that's what we are. We expect to be really competitive and play a certain way, and tonight we didn't do so. So, like I said, we'll take the positives out of giving our younger boys some exposure, but at the same time, just embarrassed by that performance.
So there's exactly a similar conversation that McWalter didn't have the sugar with we exposed some young players. He just went straight to we're embarrassed by the performance. So similar positions. I know the perception is that Richmond might be in front of West Coast in terms of the rebuild. But, look at their performance on the weekend and it was just as poor as West Coast. So when you're playing these top sides, Melbourne aren't a top side, by the way, but when you're playing the top sides, it's going to be hard to stay competitive. So
Gold Coast?
The Gold Coast, Anderson's, he said he's 38. Miller's back in the side. He had 25. They had plus 24 contested possessions, plus 13 clearances. So they're setting themselves up. This game, their rubber game against Essendon, once the season's finished, then on the Wednesday night going into the bye week, they're playing Essendon, who already be on their footy trip. So when you look at the ladder, you've got to put that into perspective. So they're going to jump probably 4 or 5 spots in that last Wednesday, which is going to be interesting, isn't it? So, yeah, they're setting themselves up to be a really competitive team in the finals, which is going to be good to watch. I mean, last point, inside 50s, 56 to 34. So it was a hiding.
Well, Sydney and Essendon, the game was just a game. The weather was pretty poor. The crowd predominantly stayed away. The weather was poor early. I want to make mention of Brodie Grundy.
39 possessions.
Yeah, and got cooked. Should have had 40. I think Gordon missed him. 8 marks, 32 hit-outs, 13 clearances.
Only 100 metres gained.
Yeah, 150 fantasy points for what it's worth. He had 28 handballs. He's got to be in the conversation. In the last 8 weeks, for me, I think he's been the best ruckman in the game. Last 8 weeks.
It's frustrating. I think there's a reason why you get traded 3 times, and I think it's been the...
It just didn't work at Melbourne, didn't it? Gordon
the ball's in his court.
Banana.
Yeah, I still think he wasn't playing that well, and I don't think Collingwood, there's a reason why he left Collingwood. And I can you say it's worked at Sydney? Maybe, maybe not. But the last 10 weeks, you got to tip your hat. I think he started the year poorly. I think he got dropped at some stage, or
he did.
Ladham's got put in front of him. Yeah. So he's responded well. He contributes to that midfield group that still relies on their top 4 or 5 players. So this was just a game.
Well, I thought we got a really good lesson in work rate in the first half. I thought Sydney outworked us to the contest, and we fought hard, but there's just a lot of things that we've got to improve on. And we obviously understand that a lot of our players are early in their careers, but this is an accelerated learning curve that we're after.
And once again, there's another one that doesn't accept the loss, but understands we're a young side going against a more experienced team.
Yep, they got the job done. Now, Collingwood, Brisbane. Okay, so now we're going to play a bit of this. Now we've got, first of all, give us your thoughts on the 27-point victory by the Lions.
Well, what's it say more about, Brisbane or Collingwood? And I always look at that first. I think it says more about Brisbane and the way they responded from a poor performance the week before against Gold Coast. They beat him up around the ball. It was, plus 22 at contested possession, plus 17 clearances. I think their midfield had a lot more dominance, obviously, than Collingwood. When you take the game on against Collingwood, I don't think they like speed. You can't be an average age of 28 and like a fast game. I think they like to control the speed of the game, the Pies, and you'll see them pointing a lot, slow back up.
Down the line, yeah.
And that's a great system and method. The thing about that is everyone knows it. When you scout Collingwood, you know exactly what they're going to do. So when you have a good plan, you execute it, you can beat them at their own game. I thought Brisbane took the game to Collingwood, and they didn't like the speed on the game. So if you're playing the Pies they've lost 3 out of the last 4, take them on. See what you can do. Go for a shootout. Whereas it used to be, don't go in a shootout with Collingwood. They'll get you. I don't know if they like that fast-paced game as much as they used to.
They're vulnerable down back too, aren't they? When Howe's not there, yeah. So when Howe, and I think Frampton's a key as well. I think he allows Moore to play a different style. Moore is not a lockdown defender. He likes to be the third man in with the big spoil. This is what Craig McRae said. He's not going to waver. He still believes.
No, I've got great belief in this team, and for obvious reasons, because there's so much trust built. The evidence was I'm not sure still, but we've been pretty close to being the best defence in the competition still. But we've got work to do.
Not in the last 4 weeks, they're not.
No.
So interesting when you, if you ever watch Collingwood and you see them in the back pocket pointing down the line, it means, every now and then it'll be a decoy kick, but they'll stay skinny. And Harris Andrews said, it must have been a plan. We're just going to stick you down the line. So when they point, they're pointing at you, Harris. And he had 9 spoils and 5 or 6 intercept possessions. So good coaching from Fagan's point of view. And Collingwood, they'll still just do what they do. It's just they want to do it better.
Between the lines still to come. St Kilda, a masterclass late in the game. North Melbourne just played into their hands. They were so good early in North Melbourne, but then don't know what happened after that. But Saints got home in a close one of the closer games of the round, a 9-point win. This was Alistair Clarkson post-match.
Won 2 quarters, lost 2 quarters, so that was pleasing that we were able to compete and be in the game in that respect. Bottom line is we just couldn't get it inside 50 enough, the single margin figure that splits the 2 sides by the end of the game. But we need to work out a way that we can get the ball inside 50 and hold it in there a little bit more often. And we're not too bad at actually converting the chances once we get it in there. Sometimes it's just the lack of a bounce or where the ball drops. Tom Powell kicked the ball into the middle of the oval. Hilly for the Saints dropped the footy, but where that ball lands once it's dropped, it's just a raffle really. Didn't land in our arms unfortunately, but had it landed in our arms, then we're a chance to take it forward and maybe score.
So Clarko's a bit different, isn't he? He's more just to stay positive, although he's not as bouncy as I've heard him before. It's been a long year. But he's of the opinion, we're not far away. We've had a lot of close games that we could have won. We've got to get a bit more inside 50s, as opposed to the Uze, McQualter were embarrassing, that sort of stuff. Even last week, they were more competitive this week, but they only had 38 inside 50s to 54.
So they should be better. They started all of this 3 years ago.
More than 3 years ago.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
Okay. Well, he's only, how long's he been there?
3 years.
3 years.
It's in his third year. So, I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, the better games we're going to get in the next 3 weeks. So when it's 14th versus 13th, rather than when it's first versus last. So it was an entertaining game. Miller, is he just? It's funny what confidence can do. They're going to be in serious concern right now, St Kilda, that he hasn't actually said, hey, listen, unless they're looking for a spike in attendance to a game or something that they go, hey, listen, this week, by the way, he's signed, all turn up sort of thing. If he doesn't sign the next 10 days, there'll be some serious concerns.
Well, he was asked the question by Sarah Jones post-match.
Saints fans are desperate to know whether your future lies here at the club. Are you getting closer to a decision?
I'll sort that out with the club and manager, but going about my business, playing footy at the moment, so that's come in due time.
Leaving it to my manager. So he's not giving...
Boy.
So Ben Williams and Nasiah have made no indication to anybody what their decision is.
No, I put it on some of the media gurus out there. Like, where's the research? Who's going to break this story? It's the toughest nut to crack at the moment because there's some sieves out there in terms of managers. But this one seems to be, coming down to the wire. So if they say there's a deal done, there's a whole other party that has got to keep their mouth shut as well. So unless it's just been done with a coach or a list manager or a CEO, time will tell. But a good entertaining game. But North still couldn't get over the line.
Coach's call, thanks to Hungry Jacks. Geelong, 88-point winners. The game was on while we were doing our game here. Jeremy Cameron dominated. And now Jack Martin kicked 4 goals in a record. So from the turn of the century, he kicked 4 goals in his time.
4.5 minutes.
In 5 minutes 16. And in that time that he kicked 4 goals, Port Adelaide had 3 disposals.
Yeah, well, it's... They've got a pretty good run. I wonder if you want this kind of run if you're Geelong. They're more worried about Cameron kicking 100 goals than actually finishing top 4. I'm sure they're soft run. I'm sure they're not. I wouldn't be complaining about the run. Just give me the wins, and we'll get ourselves going and get some real confidence, knowing that there's bigger challenges ahead. So, Cameron's kicked his 6, Martin kicked his 4. It was a domination. Really, it was 29 marks inside 50 to 6. Goss, that's some sort of record to the Cats. So, interesting to see what Hinkley, it's 2 weeks in a row. He had a 100-point loss last week and then, 88-point or whatever it was on the weekend. And he hasn't experienced that in his career, let alone the last 2 weeks.
And the big issue, though, for Chris Scott post-game was the goal celebration from Jack Martin. Have a listen.
Were you dancing to the Macarena there for a while?
No, but the crowd was up and about, wasn't it? Yeah, no, the music after goals is not my thing at all.
But it was pretty amazing.
Ask me what I'd change in the AFL, that's it.
Your number one thing?
Be up there. Yeah, and I hate that song.
The players get to choose their song.
Yeah.
And he's chosen the Macarena.
Jake Waterman's got the best.
What's he got?
Jake Waterman's got the darts, the 180. When you get the one, but he's got the song, the one.
Da, 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 da.
Yes, I love it. Pity he's not playing.
No. Well, that's important.
What do you make of this, G-Train? Pies have been exposed since Ross and the Saints took them on 6 weeks ago. Take the game on at all costs. The only drama was the Saints faded late. Other teams took note and bang, the Pies have been dropping like flies. So teams that take them on.
Yeah,
which is what you're saying.
I think I heard this earlier in the year from a coach offline that they don't like speed. And I think it's there's a way to beat every team, Goss. There is a strategy. You get worked out. No one stays bulletproof forever. And their style of play hasn't really changed. Their personnel's evolved, Collingwood. But there's always going to be an evolution where, we better move this in a different direction because we've been worked out a little. I'm not saying that's happened, but they live off contest and pressure, the Pies, but there's other systems around it.
Josh says, Craig McRae is drinking his own bath water.
Well, it's interesting dealing with losing.
He doesn't deal very well. I'll say it. He doesn't deal with losing at all.
What do you mean? He's
very patronising, and he always, and I think we'll get this later, he always brings in the opposition. Like, he brings in the opposition to the conversation. Like, I stand corrected on this. He brought the conversation to Fremantle, the way they played. It's a little backhander on the way through. He did the same with Brisbane. Apparently Brisbane had a real hardcore, deep heart-to-heart after they lost. Do I need to do that? Why doesn't he just bring it up without having to talk about what the opposition has done? He does it nearly every time if you have a listen.
Yeah, I don't know if it's deliberate. Sometimes he just speaks whatever comes out of his mouth, I mean,
Very
talking
popular.
about Jack Silvani,
Yeah.
just doing it because, I'm just doing it. So there's the honesty piece. I think that's what people want, don't they?
Well, we'll find out. We'll do that a little bit later.
Find
And
the lines,
let's have a listen to Michael Voss post game. 27 points. He was fairly buoyant with the effort.
I thought we're fantastic in the first half. Probably some of the best football we've played this year. Appetite for the contest, and probably the best pressure that we've put on an opposition team. And to be fair, I felt like we sort of maintained that for most of the game. Like a mature side probably does. A confident side that's now on on a bit of a roll. They're able to steady the ship and keep playing the same way and ask the question back of us.
I think it's funny he said a mature side, and Fremantle are one of the most least experienced team in the competition. So that's
They're mature about the way they go about it, aren't they? Their young leaders
who gets
are.
credit for that?
Well,
is anyone going to say well done to the coach?
100%.
And the system and the method and the ability to get a team to have this maturity at so young and inexperienced side, to actually bring him to the point where they can handle, we're 24 points down, it's half time, it's a wet, windy day, let's not try and win this game in the first 5 minutes of the third quarter, but we've got some work to do.
Yep.
I think
Josh Tracy's leadership shouldn't go unnoticed. He's very good organised.
his leadership, but their intensity when the ball hits the deck. I think the other thing too is the back line. Like that, they're saving games in the first half. So when the midfield gets going, because the midfield's the one that's inconsistent. I've got to be honest. They're the ones who, I know the Brayshaw and Sarongs are the leaders, but they're the ones who are actually inconsistent at the moment.
Yep.
The back half and the front half, they're the ones who are actually carrying the can at the moment, which is a great problem. So that when it all comes together, you get what you get in the last quarter against Collingwood, or you get what you get in the last quarter on the weekend. And we've debated about the two rucks, what impact they can have. It's funny, the very first centre bounce of every last quarter, Jackson and Darcy touched the ball. It was a free kick to Darcy, which was dubious, but he still got the free kick, goes inside 50, in, out, in play, goal. And then suddenly the crowd gets going. So I think the coach and the coaching staff need to get a little bit of credit on this one.
Okay, so Hayden Young's injured. He's got a groin or a quad, but groin looks like it.
Yep.
Fife had a great game in the waffle. I want to say great, sorry. Played in a losing team, only kicked one goal, but he had 27 touches in pretty ordinary conditions. So the game was pretty slow, but it was big-bodied stuff. They've already got O'Meara, who I think is a bit of an X factor to their success. I think he's a lot more physical than people give him credit. They probably won't play Will Brodie, albeit that he was named in the squad. Do you find a spot for? 3 weeks out? Do you play Nat Fife now? Do you have to play Nat Fife now?
I'd give him a go.
Yep.
I'd go, right, there's a spot available. Now, if it's Erasmus versus Fife versus O'Meara, you probably fit two out of those three, and I don't know which one would miss out.
Is it any worth having him as a sub, or you just play him?
I think you could do both. I think they've got to explore just playing him. Just go, listen, mate, you're a big body, and whether it's a role, whether it's, hey, listen, who have they got this week?
We've got Port away.
Go take on Wines. Just go head to head and beat him and give him a role rather than just try and get 30 and try and be creative. It's, be Sarong's protector. That's something there you could do. And then you get to the last round and the last round, I mean, they're going to make finals still, Fremantle. But there'll be a point where it's, okay, well, we've got our team worked out and we're not moving from this unless there's injuries.
All righty, between the lines time.
On Simo and Goss for breakfast. Between the lines.
Mark Duffield will remain in here. This is where coaches say things in a press conference, and we are critiquing exactly what they said. So, what do you want to go with?
Well,
first?
I think we start with Hinkley, and this is back what Duff just spoke about with it's a long year, and especially when you know you're not coaching next year and how you handle a game which is really difficult to win. Geelong is probably the hardest when you're a poor side. They beat up on them. So listen to what he's saying here.
Oh, look, given all things considered, it wasn't totally unexpected that we'd battle our way through a game down here against Geelong with a real full-strength Geelong against clearly a really undermanned team that we took out there. But, I thought the boys hung in there as much as they possibly could for most parts of the game. Geelong had that dominant third quarter with 9 goals and, outside of that, we weren't too far off probably what most people would have expected, I would have thought.
It's interesting. It's like, let's get this season done. We're done. Just stick a fork in us. We're cooked, isn't it? And you compare that to the other coaches who are just battling at the bottom of the ladder and just dealing with significant losses. His is more, c'est la vie. It is what it is. And
I'm leaving anyway.
Yeah, and is anyone surprised here? But to be honest, the last 2 weeks it's been 98 points and 90 points or something like that, 88 points. So they're the two of the top 5 biggest losses he's had.
If you were the club, would you be putting Josh Carr in before the end of the season, or do you just go the whole?
It's going to be a long it's going to be a long 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Who have they got? They got Freo this week.
Freo
at home.
Freo in Adelaide. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, if you're going to do it at a home game, and what's the last round of the year? I suppose if the last round of the year is away, then. But what's the point? I don't think you'll see anything different with Carr coaching the last 3 weeks.
So just roll through.
They've done it to the point now where I think it's
interesting, though, that Andrew McWalter was referring to specifics that they needed improvement from, and Ken was just kind of like, oh, well,
yeah, that's right.
That's how it is.
So they've got Fremantle in Adelaide, then they've got Carlton at Marvel, and then they're home to the Gold Coast Suns. So the Gold Coast Suns will be his farewell.
Yeah, which is just, it's hard to have a farewell when you're going to lose by 80 points, but that's just the way it is.
Anyway. All righty. All right.
Well, the second one is we've had this guy a couple of times fly. He's had a challenging month because they're 1-3, and how you handle the media. Some coaches wouldn't even batter an eyelid, would just do the same thing. But let's just listen to what he said here about his response.
Brisbane, apparently they had a really stern and honest session about their contest and stuff, and I said, "Do you need that from me? Do you want that?" I just don't think we need that. I just think we've got a lot of trust in our group. Hasn't been a pattern, but it's disappointing. Yeah, we've got work to do.
I don't know if he means to do it, where it comes across as a little bit like Chris Fagan's going, "Oh, does that mean I had to do it? You don't have to do it." Like that's the connotation that's. I don't think he's meaning to do this, but there's a few little perceptions that you can get out of the last 3 press conferences Fly's done. So there's the Jack Silvani. Yeah, I met him. I hope to meet him again, the second date, and it's a laugh it off. And then Jack's got to go back to Carlton, and, nothing changes, but he's got to go back to that locker room, and everyone knows there's been a meeting, a bit like Oscar Allen. There's the Fremantle conversation. Maybe they should play like that a bit more. So there's a few things there. I don't know if he's meaning to do it, Duff, or do you think it's strategic?
I just get the feeling that there's a bit too happy, bit too early at Collingwood. Even Darcy Moore referring to Josh Tracy as old mate. Oh, I dropped the knees into old mate, or I fell on old mate. His name's Josh Tracy, and you've just played in a game where your opponent's kicked 6, and old mate is what you come up with. Are we reading too much into it? Well, we might be, but maybe there's just a lack of respect.
Yeah.
There's certainly a lack of respect for Jack Silvani. That the coach does not have the right to air that publicly.
Oh, it's happened before, hasn't it? But it's creeping in a little bit. So you got to think about the player as much as your own, conversation and how honest you want to be. If you like the honesty out there, then maybe this is a good thing.